Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back to the Being Allowed podcast. And if you are new here, hi. I am your host, Bibashay, and here we talk about all things raw and human, but in a way that makes us want to become better people, both for ourselves and for our communities. We address the sticky and confront the uncomfortable. And today's episode will help us do just that. There is a philosophy that I've recently been living by. It isn't anything groundbreaking at all, and it will not blow your mind. It has been wrapped up in a saying that has been so overused that most of us, like me up until very recently, rarely ever take the time to pause and think about what it actually means and how it can actually change our lives. This philosophy has definitely, absolutely changed mine. It has changed the way I approach the random and absurd events that blindside me around every corner. It has changed the way I deal with the people in my life. It has changed the way I adapt to thrive, even when life is going anything but my way. Lord knows, I have had my fair share of disappointments over the past 31 years of my existence. I've been hurt. I have had plans go way off script, and I have loved and lost. And what I realized pretty late in the game is that I have very little to control, which is an extremely uncomfortable concept to reckon with, to say the least, because I like to plan. I like to know that if I do this thing, that thing will surely be the outcome. And that is a lot to expect coming from me, the number one enemy of mathematics. Still, turns out this simple equation is something I have been relying on my whole life. This false sense of certainty I've given myself. Until things completely fell apart. I mean, completely. All of a sudden, everything I knew to be true wasn't anymore. Every plan I had been counting on fell through. Every source of comfort and steadiness and assurance broke. And every person left. Now, all I was left with was my disappointed self, trying to make sense of all the mess that just happened, wondering if I will ever muster the strength to ever begin again. What's the point of it anyway if everything I cling to slips through my fingers? What is it all for if all I plan for works itself the way it wants regardless? And if the people I do life with refuse to change to what I believe is better? How am I supposed to approach my life when the only thing it's actually consistent at doing, ironically, is reminding me that I cannot anticipate or control, well, pretty much anything? Let's begin today's conversation so I can tell you about the philosophy that has absolutely changed my life. Hello, and welcome back to the Being Allowed podcast, or welcome here for the first time. Today's topic is very life-changing if you will only let it be. عشان it has completely changed my life over the past, I would say mainly 2 years, but even more intentionally and mindfully over the past few months. قررت ان انا هغير اتيتيودي للحياة وهغير الاسلوب اللي انا بأبروتش كل يوم بيه عشان حسيت ان انا تعبت، ولو انا تعبت محتاجة اغير حاجة علشان practically اقدر move forward in a better lighter way. وبحس ان احنا في الكالتشر بتاعنا، معرفش بقى ده في مصر بالذات او الدول العربية كلها، الميدل ايست، ولا دي حاجة عامة جلوبال، يعني معرفش، بس احساس اللي هو البؤس واليأس تجاه الحياة is very يعني prevalent. هو حاجة موجودة قوي في كل حتة حوالينا، وأدركت ان انا ابتدى يبقى عندي شويه تندنسي دي اللي هو التشاؤم او مش التشاؤم يعني، بس اللي هو ايه، الاستسلام الفيري نيجاتيف ده ما هو الدنيا كلها كده والحياه كلها صعبه وبتاع. ولقيت ان ده بيأثر عليا in a very negative way. ولما قعدت اعمل شويه self reflecting مع نفسي، اكتشفت ان انا مش عايزه اعيش كده. ومش عايزة ان ده يبقى اسلوبي في الحياة واتيتيودي في الحياة. لا بالعكس، انا عايزة احس ان انا I have some agency or some control over my response. لان من كذا حلقة I think السنة اللي فاتت في بداية البودكاست دي ابتديت افكر في I was going through the peak of my healing is when I started this podcast. وكنت عارفين لما تبقوا موجوعين قوي من حاجة where you're desperate to heal, you start seeing life around you كلها as like brand new. اللي هو especially when you heal from something that was so traumatizing and catastrophic, مرة واحدة بنبتدي ان احنا نحتاج redefine, readjust ourselves اكننا we're brand new babies. بنتعرف بقى على عالم جديد. واكتشفت بقى وقتها through therapy and through reading and working on myself انه the reality of the matter is انه انا عمري ما هعرف، بس انا وقتها كنت واخداها شوية اكتر ناحية البني ادمين، يعني عمري ما هعرف اكنترول تصرفات البني ادمين اللي حواليا تجاهي، ولا كلام الناس ليا، ولا الديسابوينتمنتس اللي هتبقى بسبب الناس اللي حواليا. therefore the only thing I actually can control هو my response. وكنا وقتها اتكلمنا I'll even link that episode in the show notes below. بس وقتها اتكلمنا قوي عن the difference between a reaction and a response. ازاي انه لو احنا عشنا حياتنا كلها بنreact هيطلع مننا اوحش حاجات لما نتحط في اوحش مواقف. هيطلع مني الجزء العصبي اللي ما عندوش كنترول على كلامه، الجزء اللي هو غصب عنه بيخلي تصرفات الناس اللي حواليه هي اللي تديكتيت الرياكشنز بتاعته. فبدل ما نبقى بنتصرف from a place of مبادئ و from a place of conviction and self-awareness، مرة واحدة بنلاقي نفسنا بنتصرف from a place of reaction تجاه other people's bad behavior. طبعا يعني if you want to listen to that episode I will link to it below. بس اكتشفت بقى دلوقتي now that I've done a lot of healing and I feel like I've really made a lot of progress in this area، هي الحياة لسه برضو عمالة بتديني على دماغي. حتى لو أنا I healed from the one big thing that I was going through, life is still really difficult, it's still really messy. So how do I face it? How do I confront it? وأدركت إنه في philosophy جديدة محتاجة ابتدي embrace و embody وأدخلها بقى بقوة في حياتي عشان أعرف أبقى a healthy, balanced, good human being and citizen of the world, even when life doesn't go my way at all and when the surprises of life keep blindsiding me. مش عارفة مالي النهاردة، مش عارفة أتكلم. And that philosophy is the it is what it is philosophy. كم مرة في حياتنا سمعنا الجملة بتاعت it is what it is؟ بتهيألي دي من أكتر حاجات اللي اتقالت في تاريخ البشرية كلها. it is what it is. بس معظم الوقت the way that I hear it and the way that I hear people using that sentence and that phrase هي بطريقة استسلامية قوي، اللي هو it is what it is very very كده أكني خلاص أنا رميت طوبة الحياة وحطيت رجلي على الترابيزة وقررت اللي هو إيه from a very negative pessimistic place. أوكي يعني it is what it is بقى، لما نشوف آخرتها إيه بقى، وأهو أهي دنيا وحاجات كده. والطريقة دي بتهيألي كلنا سمعنا ناس بتتكلم الطريقة دي، وهي دي الحتة اللي أنا لقيت نفسي ابتديت أخش فيها، وابتديت أدرك إنه لأ أنا مش عايزة يبقى عندي الاتيتيود ده في حياتي خالص خالص خالص، الاتيتيود السلبي قوي ده. لان انا مش انسانه بائسه ومش انسانه بتؤمن باليأس، لا انا بؤمن انه طول ما احنا عايشين على الكوكب احنا ناس ليها نوع من انواع الايجنسي. sure we cannot control 3/4 of the things of this life. هيحصل ظروف 100% بره ايدينا، 100% مرات ممكن نكون we could have never seen this coming ever، وهيفضل يحصل surprises وناس هتفضل let us down وظروف هتفضل تطلع out of nowhere توقعنا على وشنا وكل الكلام ده. بس احنا we have some kind of control. And like what we talked about in that previous episode that I mentioned, إنه we get to control our response to the way that people treat us. احنا we also get to control our response to the way that life chooses to unfold, because life will continue choosing to unfold. فلما for example هديكوا example بسيط قوي. I talked about to my exclusive subscribers, I talked about the fact that at the start of this year we found out that my mother has cancer, and we've been in this very long journey ever since. It is now September واحنا عرفنا في يناير, فاحنا بالنا كتير في الموضوع ده. I talk about it a lot more in depth. If you want to listen to the full episode on that, I will also link it below. But that was completely out of the blue, يعني حاجة ما حدش فينا كان ممكن يتوقعها يعني. And لما I gave myself time to process شوية ويعني أستوعب شوية الصدمة الأولانية بتاعت إن حد يقول لي حاجة زي كده, اكتشفت إنه إحنا we can respond in one of two ways. وأنا عندي control over how I respond even to حاجة بالبشاعة دي وبالصعوبة دي. أنا برضو أقدر respond ب one of two ways. يا إما extreme fear and panic and terror, which gives birth to anxiety, which gives birth to رعب بشع. والصراحة مش هكدب عليكم يعني, that was the way that the first few months were for me. أنا كنت ما بنامش, I was shaking all the time, and كنتش بعرف أعمل conversations مع أي حد لأنه كنت مستسلمة قوي لحتة okay it is what it is, إنه أنا لازم أقبل إنه هو ده واقع الحقيقة بتاعت حياتي right now. بس it was from a place of pessimism and from a place of like بؤس ويأس وكده. And that gave birth to fear and anxiety وكل ده. ومع الوقت لقيت إنه لا, الموضوع مطول وأنا كده هموت وكل اللي حواليا هيموتوا, لأن إحنا the way we show up for our own lives affects the way that we show up for the people around us كمان. فابتديت أحس لأ, محتاجة get my act together عشان at least ما بقاش أنا source of added pressure للموقف اللي already صعب. اكتشفت إنه لأ, why don't I approach this from the place of it is what it is. فإحنا عارفين إنه ده الواقع, ده حقيقة الموضوع. إيه الحاجة اللي في إيدي أعملها؟ إيه الريسبونس اللي هيكون بناء في موقف زي ده؟ الريسبونس اللي هيكون بناء هو ان انا I take it one day at a time. I make sure that I am doing the best job that I can في ان انا ابقى faithful in prayer لمامتي, في ان انا ابقى بسأل عليها هي وبابايا وبشو اب واشوف هما محتاجين ايه واشوف انا اقدر اساعد ازاي. ومعظم الوقت كان مفيش حاجة ممكن انا اساعد بيها, therefore okay, بما انه it is what it is ومفيش حاجة انا اقدر اساعد بيها, how am I gonna live this day? How am I gonna face this day? وابتديت أخدها أكتر from a proactive, say positive طريقة. طبعا it's ups and downs, لأن life بالذات بمواقف بالصعوبة زي الموقف ده, we're human at the end of the day, and we have to give ourselves grace للأيام اللي هنبقى فيها very human ومش قادرين نعمل حاجة, والأيام اللي هنصحى فيها مش قادرين ندي أحسن حاجة عندنا. It's just gonna happen sometimes. بس عامة accepting this idea of it is what it is, not as a negative استسلام philosophy, but as a philosophy that stems from strength, that stems from proactivity, إنه أنا أقدر أبقى in control of whatever it is that I can be in control of النهاردة, كل يوم بيومه. So a lot of that it is what it is philosophy, the good healthy kind, comes hand in hand with acceptance. إزاي نحن نقبل. And I think a lot of the root cause of anxiety في حياتنا بيكون لأن احنا رافضين نقبل الواقع. احنا لأ, شايفين الحياة unfolding بطريقة غير اللي احنا كنا رسمينها. So instead of accepting that it is what it is, احنا بنعافر وبنقاوح مع الحياة عشان شايفين انه لا, it should have been something else. It should have unfolded in a different way. It should have taken on a different shape. I remember when I was going through my divorce, when I realized انه okay, what needs to happen is that we need to get a divorce. يعني كفاية نحاول make this relationship work when it's clearly only destroying both of us. وإنه الواقع هو إن إحنا محتاجين نتطلق. كان عندي الصراع البشع ده انه لا طبعا، لا طبعا اكيد واقع حياتي مش ان انا بتطلق. يعني انا قضيت سنين من حياتي بعافر انه I prepare myself and prepare my heart towards a happy healthy marriage that is rich in love, that you know قدام نجيب عيال ونبقى بقى couple خطير بنموت في العيال وبنربيهم على احسن صورة ممكنة وبتاع. ولما تواجهت بقى بالواقع بتاع my actual circumstance, I'm like no, I refuse to accept that this is the reality. And therefore for months I faced so much anxiety, so much lack of acceptance that led me انه يبقى عندي اي حاجة but peace towards my circumstance. وفي الاخر ايه اللي حصل؟ اتطلقت برضو. ملهاش علاقة بقى انا متمسكة ب a certain image in my head ولا انا I'm willing to accept. In both cases life will happen. In both cases my mother had cancer. في الحالتين, whether or not I argue with life and say no, this cannot be the case, or I accept that this is the case and try to be as fruitful and as positive and as معرفش يعني عندي agency في الموقف. في الحالتين الظروف ما اتغيرتش. So a lot of this positive mentality towards it is what it is comes hand in hand with acceptance, the power of acceptance. And I have come to find out that it is through accepting our circumstances, difficult as they may be, difficult or easy or different as they may be, with that acceptance, that is where personal growth comes. It is when we let go of our control, نقرر ان احنا هنفتح ايدينا بدل ما احنا we're clenching onto the idea of something that just doesn't seem to happen. لما نرخي ايدينا شوية ونفتحها ونتقبل الظروف, نتقبل حياتنا the way that it's unfolding, the way that it should unfold. I think also with acceptance comes trust. إنه we have to trust إنه life will unfold the way it should unfold, not the way that we want it to unfold. But more on that in a bit. لما نرخي ايدينا كده شوية ونaccept, هنلاقي إن احنا as personalities بنوسع وبنكبر و our tolerance increases, our perseverance increases, our characters are developed and strengthened and made stronger and made better. لأننا قدرنا إن احنا نرخي ايدينا ونlet loose شوية ونتقبل المواقف زي ما بتيجي ونتقبل إنه life will happen the way that it should. Now on to the trust factor, because I think it's going to be really difficult for us to accept and let go if we don't also trust. Now I'm a Christian, and when I say trust, I mean trust in God, trust in the God in whom I have faith, in هو he's in control of everything. But I see people who also don't have faith find something that they can trust in. Can you trust ظروف الحياة إن هي هتحصل as it should? كل التفاصيل بتاعت حياتنا will unfold the way that they should. Now with that comes humility. So احنا كده we talked about the positivity in our approach, إنه مش it is what it is in a negative pessimistic kind of way, but in a way that is more فيها agency, إنه we're gonna respond بدل ما we're gonna react. لا, we're gonna respond to ظروف حياتنا بطريقة positive و optimistic وفيها فيها ان احنا بنتصرف من مبادئ مش من reactions الظروف ولا reactions الناس. فدي اول حاجة قلناها. تاني حاجة انه in that we need to embrace the idea of acceptance. بدل ما احنا we're holding on to how things should be, احنا we're accepting the way things are as they are. So the power of acceptance. تالت حاجة انه with that acceptance, there has to be trust. There has to be an element of trust that things inevitably will work out the way that they should. Even if we can't see the bigger picture from where we are at دلوقتي, لازم يبقى عندنا إيمان وثقة إنه things will work out as they should in the best way possible. Now, in that trust, and trust ultimately means ان احنا we can't see the bigger picture. فاحنا we're trusting something that's in the future that's still pretty much quite hypothetical at this point. We're trusting in حاجة that we cannot see. The faith, the hope. We have faith and hope and trust in something that we cannot yet see from where we are right now. And with that comes humility. تواضع. ازاي اتواضع عن الكبرياء بتاعي اللي بيقول لي ان انا اقدر اتحكم في ظروف حياتي when at the end of the day I am only just a human being. I think we like to play the role of God. We like to think that we have more control over our lives than we actually do. ومع الكبرياء ده لما الحياة بقى بتواجهنا بالواقع بتاعها وبحقيقتها بندرك ان احنا we are only human beings. And then we wrestle with this fact عشان we don't like it. It makes us very uncomfortable, this idea انه I'm only a human being and I only have so much control over my life. لا أنا عايزة أبقى a human being who is able to control تفاصيل كل ظروف حياتها. ومش بس تفاصيل ظروف كل حياتها كمان تفاصيل كل حياة الناس اللي حواليهم. أنا في يناير كنت عايزة أحس لا أنا أقدر أتحكم في إن أمي تخف. لا هو صحة أمي مش في إيدي. ظروف أمي مش في إيدي. ظروف أبويا مش في إيدي. أختي مش في إيدي. الناس اللي بحبهم برضو مش في إيدي. بس إحنا we like to pretend that we have more control than we do. And the thing is, we believe that. We buy into that lie and we end up believing it, which only gives birth to so much more anxiety than is already existent in life as it is. ليه بنزود على نفسنا anxiety only because we refuse to humble ourselves قدام الواقع بتاعنا. إحنا بني أدمين. إحنا مش ربنا. احنا ما عندناش control over كل ظروف الناس اللي حوالينا أو ظروف حياتنا أو ظروف العالم أو أي حاجة. We only have very limited agency. And it is in the acceptance of our humility, of the fact إن احنا صغيرين, احنا مش كبار, of the fact إن احنا we're limited, we are not infinite, we're not limitless, احنا we're very limited. Then لما نتواضع ونلاحظ حقيقة الموقف ساعتها هنقدر ان احنا نبقى more open to trusting God, trusting the bigger picture, trusting the journey, trusting the story to unfold the way that it should unfold, and trusting انه احنا نقدر نبقى غلط. هيبقى التواضع ده يعني هيخلينا نلاحظ انه okay, we can plan, we can do the best that we can and put in the most effort possible, because that is our job, is to do the best that we can. بس هنقدر نبقى متواضعين كفاية ان احنا لما نفتح ايدينا نلاحظ انه okay, maybe I planned and I tried my best and life unfolded the way that it wanted to unfold. And because I accept that I am only a human, I accept that this is the plan that should exist. وبالتالي هقدر بقى change my response وهيبقى عندي flexibility ان انا اغير responses بتاعتي مش reactions. هيبقى عندي flexibility دي ان انا accept life as it comes, ابقى humble enough to trust, and ultimately as a result change my plans عشان يبقوا احسن حاجة موجودة وعشان accommodate for the way that life actually is. It is what it is, but that is not a negative or pessimistic approach to life. That is the most powerful, life-changing, character-building philosophy to adopt. The thing about life is that it is genuinely really, really difficult. علينا كلنا. No one is the exception to the rule. It doesn't matter how much money you have or what advantages you were, blessed with. Life is hard, and we need to be flexible enough. We need to adopt philosophies to our day-to-day life in a way that is very conscious, based off of self-reflection, علشان نسهل على نفسنا الدنيا ونحسن شوية من the quality of our lives, ونحاول نقلل شوية من anxiety اللي بتكون موجودة. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. If you are in support of the Being Allowed podcast, and if you are in support of this episode and you liked it, please be sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. And you can even become an exclusive subscriber to receive weekly journaling prompts every single Thursday. Since we talk a lot about self-reflection and introspection, if you want to take that seriously, just click on the support the show button below to become an exclusive subscriber and receive weekly journaling prompts that you can listen to and then take with you throughout the weekend. Thanks again so much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you again here next week.